Teruvan Saranai. Wish all of you a wonderful 2024 ahead. As you all know, the objective of Aloka Dhamma discussion is to explain how practical the Buddhism is and how practically we can use the teachings and techniques of Buddhism in our daily life, which will enable us to become successful individuals and good human beings. And as always, with respect, I welcome Venerable Sandalanka Kalana Dasana Thero and Venerable Gampa Sumanansa Thero for our discussion today to start 2024. We spoke about mental well-being, we spoke about the importance of understanding the difference between wholesome and unwholesome deeds, and we end last year with a discussion about the importance of associating wise people and importance of mastering the skill of listening, and the importance of and the difference between the wholesome and unwholesome deeds, and why we should follow the advices of the wise. According to Buddhism, Venerable Sumanansa Thero, so is there any connectivity between the wholesome deed, unwholesome deed and advisors and making a rational decisions?
With respect to Venerable Sandalanka Kalana Thero, Mr. Karagala and dear devotees, I would like to add something to what our Venerable Kalana Thero said in the previous session. In the same sutta, the Lord Buddha has preached, by realizing what things are abandoned by the wise and what things are praised by the wise, he stops doing unwholesome deeds and starts to do wholesome deeds. Dear devotees, as we mentioned in one of our previous sessions, it is very good and praiseworthy to stop doing unwholesome deeds. But it is even better if you can start developing wholesome deeds as well. For example, it is good to stop unwholesome thoughts related to greed, hatred and ignorance, lobha desa moha. But it is so much better if you can develop metta, karuna, mudita, upekka, loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, so-called non-jealousy, and equanimity. Dear devotees, the Lord Buddha has also preached, Sakoso kalama Arya Savako, Evan Avera Chitto, Evan Abhya Pajja Chitto, Evan Sankilitta Chitto, Evan Visuddha Chitto, Tassa Ditteva Dhamme Chattaro Assasa Adhigata Honti. Kalama, whose mind is without enmity, without ill will, undefiled and pure, has won 4 assurances in his very life. The first assurance he has won in his life is, if there is another world after death, and if there are benefits and results of good and bad deeds, it is possible that after death I will be reborn in a good destination, in a heavenly realm. Dear devotees, the second assurance he has won in his life is, if there is no other world after death, and there are no benefits and results of good and bad deeds, then right here in this very life, I maintain myself in happiness, without ill will, free of trouble. The next assurance is, suppose evil comes to one who does evil. Then, when I have no evil intentions towards anyone, how can I be afflicted by suffering, since I do no evil deeds? The fourth and last assurance he has won in his life is, suppose evil does not come to one who does evil, then right here I see myself purified in both respects. Mr. Karagala, when someone develops loving kindness, compassion, non-jealousy and equanimity, within his lifespan he gains these 4 assurances. In Buddhism, this is what we call rational and unblinded faith, because a person realizes for himself what is wrong and what is right, and not because of blind and irrational faith without asking any question.
So, well, it is clear that you should accept the advices of wise, but it is even clearer that we should not accept anything blindly or irrationally, because blind and irrational faith will mislead us and will lead to wasted effort and time. Before accepting an advice, it is very important for us to assess the environment and the variables and the possible outcome and the impacts rationally before making a decision to accept or not to accept an advice. This would lead me to ask a question related to something which is very common among all of us, the overconfidence. Most of us think we know everything and we have all the strength to do anything we need to do. But the bitter truth is all of us have our own weaknesses and limitations. Understanding and accepting our weaknesses and limitations is very critical, because if not, we will never correct ourselves and make a progress. Venerable Sandalanka Kalana Dasana Thero, is Buddhism highlighting the importance and the value of accepting our weaknesses?
With respect to our Gampaha Sumanawasa Thero, Mr. Karagala, and dear devotees, well, most of the time we like to be proud of our strengths. However, when it comes to our weaknesses, ordinary people don't like to accept those. In order to develop our career or lifestyle, we need to understand our weaknesses and strengths. In order to get rid of our weaknesses, we need to learn to accept that we have weaknesses. An excellent example is given in the commentaries of Anguttara Nikaya. Once the Lord Buddha was alive, there was a monk named Vanganta Putta Upasena, who was one of the siblings of Arahant Sariputta Thero. Now, after passing his first year of higher ordination, he decided to ordain someone else as his disciple. So, in the same year of his ordination, the disciple also received the higher ordination next year. Thinking that he did something great, he came to meet the Lord Buddha expecting praises. After meeting the Buddha, they paid respect and sat down on the side. There, Lord Buddha asked, "Bhikkhu, how many rains retreats have you spent?" Upasena Thero replied, "Lord Buddha, I have spent 2 rains retreats." "Then how many rains retreats has the monk next to you spent?" asked the Lord Buddha. "He has spent 1 rains retreat," Lord Buddha said Upasena Thero. Then Lord Buddha asked, "Upasena, who is that monk to you?" Upasena Thero replied, and proudly replied, "Lord Buddha, he is my disciple." The Lord Buddha said, "You unwise monk, how could you be someone else's teacher when you are the one who should still be under someone's guidance?" So, dear devotees, after Upasena Thero heard this, he made a pledge that one day he will become a monk who is worthy of receiving the Lord Buddha's praise, and left to a forest monastery. Not long after that, Upasena Thero was able to attain arahantship. And after spending 10 rains retreats or Vassana, he started to give the higher ordination to his disciples again. Later on, one day the Lord Buddha met one of Upasena Thero's disciples and asked him, "Bhikkhu, Are you willingly wearing the Pansukula robe? Lord Buddha, I am not, but I am wearing it because of the respect I have for my teacher, replied the monk. Then the Lord Buddha asked, who is your teacher? Lord Buddha, my teacher is Venerable Upasena Thero, replied by the monk. After hearing this, the Lord Buddha praised Upasena Thero by giving him the title of the one who inspires the confidence in all. Etadaggam bhikkhave mama savakanang bhikkūnaṁ samanta pasadikānaṁ yadidang upaseno vanganta putto. Mr. Karagala, here the lesson is the reaction of Upasena Thero when Lord Buddha explained him about his weakness. He didn't feel angry or discouraged. Instead, he humbly accepted it and corrected himself to the point of receiving praises even from the Lord Buddha. In the same manner, as long as we realize our weaknesses and overcome the weaknesses, not only we will become successful, but we will also receive praises from the people around us.
Venerable Sandalankai Kalandasan Thero explained the importance of accepting and understanding and accepting our weaknesses with an example. Venerable Gampa Sumanansa Thero, sir, according to Buddhism, what are the negative impacts of not understanding and accepting our weaknesses?
Mr. Karagala and dear devotees, I would like to ask you a question. Do you like it when others know your weaknesses? Most probably not. When you receive an advice, you usually try to avoid such advice or look for an excuse not to follow the advice, because you don't recognize and are not willing to accept your own weakness. When this happens, people will see you as someone who is lazy, who tries to avoid work. A similar incident happened at the time of the Lord Buddha. In the Majjhima Nikaya, Baddhaliya Sutta, it is preached, dear devotees, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Savatthi, in Jetavana's grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus: Bhikkhus, I eat only one meal per day. By doing so, I am free from illness and affliction, and I enjoy lightness, strength, and a comfortable abiding. Bhikkhus, you should also eat only a single meal. By doing so, you too will be free from illness and affliction. You will enjoy lightness, strength, and a comfortable abiding. When this was said, the Venerable Baddhaliya Thero told Lord Buddha, Venerable Sir, I am not willing to only eat one meal per day, for if I were to do so, I am not sure if I can perform celibacy properly. Then the Lord Buddha said, If so, Baddhaliya, separate your meal into 2 portions. Leave some food for later from your first meal, and eat the leftovers as your second meal, before noon or midday. Even this, Baddhaliya Thero refused to accept the Lord Buddha's advice. After this, Baddhaliya Thero left and didn't meet the Lord Buddha until the end of the rains retreat. After the rainy season, Baddhaliya Thero went to where the Lord Buddha was residing and met the other monks. There they told him that the Lord Buddha is preparing to leave and he should go and ask for forgiveness before the Lord Buddha leaves. Dear devotees, after Baddhaliya Thero met the Lord Buddha and paid homage, he asked for forgiveness. There the Lord Buddha said thus, Baddhaliya, at that time you could have considered that I, the Lord Buddha, will know you as someone who refuses to follow the precepts set by the Buddha, and that you are one who refuses to accept your weaknesses. Baddhaliya, at that time you could have considered that other bhikkhus and bhikkhunis of my dispensation will know you as someone who refuses to follow the precepts set by the Buddha, and that you refuse to accept your weaknesses. Not only that, but Bhaddaliya, at that time, you could have considered that other lay male and female followers and other recluses and Brahmins of other sects, everyone residing in Savatthi will know you as someone who refuses to follow the precepts set by the Lord Buddha, and that you refuse to accept your weaknesses. Mr. Karagala, after giving this advice, the Lord Buddha said that it is good that you accept your mistake even later, because accepting one's mistake and weaknesses and correcting them is what is truly praiseworthy. Not only that, but it will also help you to be successful. We live in a community. When you live in a community, you should follow the ethics and rules. Having a weakness is not an excuse not to follow those. The biggest weakness one can have is not knowing and accepting your own weakness. Dear devotees, finally I would like to say, don't allow others to know that you are weaker than them by repeating the same weakness. So try to accept your weakness and work hard to overcome those weaknesses.
Nobody will ever do everything right at the first time. The number of times we have failed and number of mistakes we have made in our life definitely would be more than the number of times we were successful. Learning from our mistakes would make us better and successful. Venerable Sandalanka Kalyan Dasana Thero, how would Buddhist teaching lead and motivate us to learn from our mistakes?
Mr. Karagala, if someone wants to be successful, the best example is the story of Mahabodhisattva. He is someone who became successful by learning from his own mistakes. As explained in the Brahmajala Sutta in the Digha Nikaya, there is no other explorer greater than the Mahabodhisattva. When he was searching for the eternal truth, he had experienced multiple mistakes and teachings which can be categorized under 62 ideologies. So, dear devotees, can you even imagine how difficult it was for the Mahabodhisattva to determine and select the correct path from those teachings which were categorized into 62 ideologies? After the renunciation, ascetic Siddhartha spent almost 6 years attempting to discover the Four Noble Truths. During most of that period, he was trying several methods that was said to help in attain Nibbana. That 6 years was a very hard time for him in his great effort towards attaining Nibbana. This effort is also known as Ariya Pariyesana in Pali. During the early days of his renunciation, he went to meet the ascetic Alara Kalama, and within a very short period of time, he was able to learn all the teachings of Alara Kalama. By reaching to the third Arupa Jhana level known as Akinchanyayatane. Because of this, ascetic Alara Kalama even offered the position of a teacher to the ascetic Siddhartha. But ascetic Siddhartha rejected the offer because he knew that they had mistakenly accepted the Akinchanyayatana as Nirvana. So the ascetic Siddhartha left the ascetic Alara Kalama. Dear devotees, after leaving Alara Kalama, he met another ascetic named Uddaka Ramaputta. At that time, Uddaka Ramaputta was teaching the method of attaining Neva Sanya Na Sanya Yatana, which is the fourth level of Arupa Jhana. In there also, he learned all his teachings in a very short time. But ascetic Siddhartha realized that even Neva Sanya Na Sanya Yatana is not the Nirvana or Nibbana. Either that Uddaka Ramaputta had mistaken it as Nibbana. Mr. Karagala, here I want to emphasize a very important fact. The difference between the third and fourth Arupa Jhana is very small. When the ascetic Siddhartha was learning the teachings of Uddaka Ramaputta, he realized this. But even so, he kept following the teachings without giving up because he knew that the correct path can be realized by understanding the mistakes of the wrong path. So, this is one of the best examples I can give you. We can learn many things from our mistakes.
Venerable Kalandassana Thero explained a part of the life of Maha Bodhisattva in explaining how he has made his mistakes and how he has learned from those mistakes. Venerable Gampa Sumanasu Thero, sir, we know that until attaining the Nibbana, Maha Bodhisattva learned a lot from his mistakes. Can you elaborate this further?
Mr. Karagala, after his previous mistakes, Maha Bodhisattva decided to try another method to attain Nibbana by making himself suffer immense pain. In Pali, this is known as Atta Kilamatanu Yoga. One of the things, or some of the things, Maha Bodhisattva did in the period of Atta Kilamatanu Yoga is he woke up very early in the morning and submerged himself in freezing water. And he laid himself on top of severely heated rocks. He sat under a tree and only ate leaves that fell from the trees that were at his arm's length. And he finally practiced the Apranaka Dhyana by stopping his breathing. Sometimes during these practices, he even lost his consciousness. Dear devotees, Maha Bodhisattva later realized that all of these methods were not guiding him towards attaining Nibbana. Some may think that Maha Bodhisattva's suffering and mistakes were a waste of time and effort. But as he understood and learned from those mistakes, he attained an unchallengeable wisdom through those learnings. Maha Bodhisattva understood that it is impossible to attain Nibbana through those methods, and he was able to confidently prevent others from making the mistakes of trying those methods to attain Nibbana. Dear devotees, the Lord Buddha preached in his first sermon, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, that Dveme bhikkhave anta pabbajitena na sevitabba yo chayang kamesu kama sukhallikanu yogo hino gammo potujjaniko anariyo anatta sanghito yo chayang atta kilamatanu yogo dukkho anariyo. Because these two extremes should not be followed by one who has gone forth into homelessness. What to? The pursuit of sensual happiness in sensual pleasure, which is low, vulgar, the way of worldlings, ignoble and unbeneficial. The second one is the pursuit of self-mortification, which is painful, ignoble and unbeneficial. Dear devotees, so I'd like to finally say that knowing your mistakes and learning from those mistakes and correcting those will not only help you, but it will also help others as well. Mr. Karagala, however, in the path to attain Nibbana, making mistakes is unnecessary. because the Lord Buddha has clearly shown the places where you might make mistakes and how to avoid those mistakes so that you can comfortably attain Nibbana without repeating those.
Well, when you make a mistake or find out that you have a weakness, there are two paths you can take. Either you can cry about it, get disappointed, and give up your effort, or you can learn from it, fight back, stand stronger, and become successful. Choice is always with you. When you start grieving about your mistakes and what you have lost, it will block your mind and rational thinking. And that will lead you to do things which would not generate any result. Because of that, you will waste your time, resources, and effort doing unnecessary things which are not adding any value to you or to your family or to the society. So the most important thing for us to understand, yes, we would make mistakes, and yes, we have our weaknesses, but as individuals, if we know the art of converting those mistakes and the weaknesses to opportunities, we'll be always able to become whom you want to become and to be successful. This will take us to end of another productive discussion of Aloka Dhamma program. And as always, I would, with great respect, I thank Venerable Sandalanka Kalandasana Thero and Venerable Kampa Sumanwansa Thero for being here with us and sharing their noble knowledge across the globe. And I would like to thank Malasekara Foundation being a partner of this noble work. And I hope this discussion will enable all of you to become better human beings by practicing the Buddhist teaching. Theruvan Saranai.